Join us again. Earlier this week, we had the CIF schedule the whole plan for all the sports for the upcoming school year. Before we get to that, I want to talk to Mr. Guzman and kind of ask him, because academics is just as much of a part as athletics. And what right now does San Paulo have going coming into the year academic-wise? Teacher-student relations, is everything going to be online? Is there going to be any kind of in-classroom education? What's the deal, Mr. Guzman?
Thank you, Dan, once again for having me. Again, as it pertains to education and athletics, obviously our number one priority is always going to be, let's get these kids back into the classroom in some capacity. So that's foremost above all our primary concern at the moment. Going forward with athletics, obviously there will be no practice or anything happening until we're able to get our kids back in the classroom and operating at least under those protocols. So as it pertains to athletics, how it merges into the athletic side is we obviously you guys saw the dates, the CIF proposal, CIF Southern Section. Again, that they released a calendar. That's it still has to go to the governing body for approval. So those are tentative at the moment to be approved in August as to what exactly is going to be happening with sports either in the fall or the spring of 2020, 2021. So as you guys saw, the fall in this case is being referred to as essentially the winter, in which it's starting in December. That's considered the fall season. And then the spring season will obviously be down in March. So a lot of questions. There's probably more questions right now at this point than there is answers. But we're on the right side in terms of us at least getting a start date. And we have seasons, full seasons for us to kind of work with and prepare for.
So they're basically going to be having 3 seasons combined into 2. The winter is going to be combined with the spring and the fall, and sports overlapping each other kind of here and there through the beginning of next year. Now, will all sports participate? Are these sports going to be cut, like golf, tennis, what have you? Are they all scheduled to go to be good to go?
Yeah, so CIF stands from the beginning after polling schools, individual schools, as to what they would like to see. I think the feedback that they got from most schools is that they wanted 3 seasons. So I know there's been discussion out there of people saying, well, why don't they just cancel fall sports like they did the previous spring with the spring seasons? And I think that the schools wanted 3 seasons in that format, even if it meant shorter seasons. What CIF was able to do was, again, merge 3 seasons into 2. And by doing that, they're essentially allowing up to about 90 to 100% of a normal season, which means mathematically and on the calendar, it's possible for us to get all of our games in. For example, the fall season football, they will not be affected. They'll have their 10-game season as they have traditionally had for the normal season. So CIF has, by merging those 2, they're allowing for 2 full seasons. But again, they're going to be merged into 2, which is going to condense definitely the spring and more so also the fall, but more so the spring. In the spring, as it pertains to Santa Paula athletics, we'll be fielding 16 programs at the same time. So that comes with a set of challenges as it pertains to transportation, to facilities. And I'm not even talking about games. I'm talking about even practices. There's going to be a lot going on in the spring and, again, more so in the fall. Before we even get there, again, this is all still set to be approved at the August CIF council meeting for approval. In my communications with some other schools, there's going to be proposals in that they're trying to move a few more sports from the spring into the fall to maybe balance it out a little more, or to eliminate some of the logistical issues that come. For example, golf. Under the current proposal that was presented, we have both golf, boys and girls, playing on the same season in the spring. As you know, utilizing golf courses with the closure of Fillmore and Santa Paula, you have all these schools running through the golf courses. And it was hard before with just one program. Now you're throwing both in at the same time, which could impact golf courses. So one of the proposals out there is trying to separate those 2 into 2 different seasons as opposed to the same. So again, the proposal set forth by CIF potentially can still change, but we at least have a plan or an idea of what it's going to look like. But again, I do want to say that there will be a lot of challenges The answers I do not have fully yet. We're in the process of speaking with our stakeholders, which includes our site level admin team and our district level admin team, in addition to navigating through this with our league, in which we got to redo all schedules, league schedules and non-league schedules. And we also got to consider other factors, such as game officials. Will there be enough game officials to accommodate all the needs? So a lot of challenges. Again, it's going to be a fun and interesting season, but we're ready for the challenge, and we're excited to at least know that we are able to provide our student athletes with opportunities. So
you just mentioned the league. I know that you're president of the Citrus Coast League. You guys, I'm sure, probably having Zoom meetings with each other,
correct.
Discussing a variety of topics. What exactly have you guys been probably discussing?
Yeah, we actually had a league meeting this morning, and the topic of discussion has been revolved around scheduling. Essentially, we're redoing all of our league schedule games, and we got to change, obviously, aside from changing dates, what's that going to look like? In the league that we're in, Santa Paula is one of the bigger schools, and by that I mean in population size. Some of the other schools have the 600 to 700 student body in their schools. So one of the concerns is, if moving forward with 16 programs in the spring for at least Santa Paula, some schools may have a little more, a little less. Will there be enough student athletes to go around to fill all 16 varsity programs? And if there is, there's probably going to be at an expense of the lower levels. Are other schools going to be able to have lower level programs? And taking that even a step further, if some schools are unable to field, for example, softball programs, if we start dwindling below 4, will there even be a Citrus Coast League for that particular sport, which could make us freelance? So a lot of things that we got to consider, and when we're redoing the scheduling and trying to accommodate the individual needs of all these schools as to what can we do without anybody cutting or losing any programs, and what does that mean for our lower levels? Is it even doable? Again, Santa Paula's situation will be different than the other schools in our league. So a lot of those decisions will be made at the site level, but if we can do something on behalf of the league and accommodate schools, then absolutely we're willing to do that to ensure that we have a viable league for our kids who competed.
I just mentioned you doing a Zoom meeting with them. For people who might not know, Zoom basically is a person, 2 people, or a variety of people actually can be in their home or in an office at a different location, and they can all discuss and talk to each other at the same time on a computer. I know that coaches have been doing Zoom meetings with their players, discussing everything from defensive alignments, offensive schemes. I know like the cheerleaders are even talking to each other or the cheer coach as far as routines go, not being able to practice with each other, but teaching them routines on the Zoom. The only unfortunate thing about Zoom right now with us is the time delay. I feel like the voice doesn't keep up with the dialogue as you're viewing it. I feel like I'm in a 1960 Godzilla movie. But that's the nature of the beast right now. Anyway, as far as the kids and stop doing the Zoom, when are practices do you think might be able to start again?
So right now, Dan, our district, Santa Paula Unified School District, is in line with, we're all wait on county guidelines for us to allow to be moved forward. So what's happening out there right now is most schools, we all have plans. We've all proposed to our school boards. We have all got approvals. However, we can't start anything until the county allows for schools to move forward. And then we're able to implement our plan. So we have the bones in place, and we're waiting on clearance from the county. And again, that's we have no control over that, nor does our district.
Right. When and if they do that, how long does it take to get like schedules set after that point? When the football, with the football team, what days they'll play, what teams they play, etc. So like November or so.
Schedules will be set, Dan, at least for the fall, the first season, which starts in December. We'll have schedules set hopefully by the end of August, no later. We're in fact working on those as we speak. I should be receiving tentative schedules today for that season. And essentially our schedules were already done for the fall. All it means is that we have to move the dates. Our 10-game season, for example, for football is already set. We just move them into those dates. We will be affected because Santa Paula has always done a week 0. With this new plan that came out, there is no room for week 0. So we would essentially have to go look for another game to fill one game. But schedules in many ways are already complete in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases they are. So scheduling won't be an issue so much for certain programs is what I'm saying. For others, it's going to be a little more challenging.
Yeah, you're talking about schedules already being set. Is that the same with like the soccer winter program, or that hasn't been set yet?
No. So right now, my reference is being made to the fall, the first season. For the winter ones, those are going to be all over the place. Those are the ones that are going to be more challenging in that, again, we have 16 programs. So it could mean that we have numerous programs playing on the same days, which could affect certain facilities. Take, for example, Santa Paula. We have 2 gymnasiums. That is a luxury in the high school world in that we have access to another venue for our kids who practice if there happens to be a game in the facility. Most schools don't have that. So, again, those challenges, again, are being looked at on behalf of the league as to how we can accommodate schools to ensure that, again, they're able to field and provide an opportunity for a league to be made. Because if there is no league, it's hard to qualify for playoffs. You got to be part of a league, which, again, if you start going freelance, it comes with this other set of criteria for us to qualify, which we don't want to do. So scheduling, again, for the fall, we're working on those. We should have those complete pretty soon. A lot of it will remain intact. For the winter sports, there's going to be some change. There has to be some change. Again, with 16 programs, again, trying to, accommodate the needs of the kids and the coaches and the schools. Again, there's going to be no solution that solves everyone's problem. And eventually there will be decisions that need to be made on whether we play this sport or that sport. And again, if we can help it to where that situation is not created, we're looking into things like that as to what we can do to minimize those impacts on our, not only our student athletes, but also our coaches, because we'll be asking a lot from our coaches going forward too.
Looking at the schedule that the CIF came out with, I noticed how football starts in December, ends in March, but you have soccer starting in February and ending in May or so. And then you have track starting also in February, which means you have JV football, varsity football, freshman JV, varsity girls soccer, freshman JV, varsity boys soccer, track and field, girls and boys, freshman, sophomore, varsity, all needing the same stadium and all being the same time for practice or games or events. Are we planning at all to maybe use other facilities, parks or what have you in the city for the teams to practice in?
So right now, Dan, the way CIF proposed their 2 calendar dates, the 2 seasons, they should not conflict in that you have the fall season and then you have the spring season. So in this case, soccer was moved to the spring. It should not be at the same time as football, unless football makes a deep run into the playoffs. Then we're going to have issues, obviously, with facilities.
Yeah, but I mean, also leading into practices before the
preseason practices. Yeah,
preseason practices, what have you.
So,
I mean, they need to use facilities.
Correct. So preseason practice, we will have a problem in that we're going to lose a lot of flexibility. In the past, obviously, our criteria at Santa Paula High School is in-season sports always have priority over out-of-season sports. Going into this new model, there's going to be set times where there's going to be a lot less flexibility in that we have to accommodate all these bodies to be able to practice, whether it's on Jones Field, the baseball field. We do have 2 gyms, but it's going to be set times with very little wiggle room or flexibility to accommodate changes or certain things. So that will provide, again, challenges for, our coaching staffs. Can they get here at a certain time? Will they need to get here at a certain time? We have a 3:30 slot open, a 5:30 slot open, and a 7:30 slot open Monday through Saturday in some cases. So we're definitely looking at all those things. Again, our district been in discussion about getting lights on our baseball field, and that'll allow us another window to expand with practices on that facility, afternoon practice. So the athletic schedule and the calendar is going to be very hectic, more so mid-fall, which in this case would be the winter. But yes, we have to get our guys ready and going on all facilities. So we'll be full hands on deck, and it's going to be very tight, but it is going to be doable. It's going to be doable.
I know that before with the winter schedule you have basketball, and then springtime you have baseball, but now they're all both going to be in springtime. Whereas an athlete at times is going to have to choose, play basketball or I play baseball. Is there going to be allowable like two-way athletes where say a pitcher plays on the basketball team, but because they don't pitch every day on a baseball team, they can maybe pitch on the baseball team every 5 days or something like that? Is that something doable or allowable?
That's a great question, Dan. And that in the past, traditionally, with academics being a priority and then playing a sport, that alone is very challenging. Allowing them to play two sports at the same time and academics could be a challenge, difficult. So from the league standpoint, that discussion hasn't been had at the district level as to if they're going to allow athletes to play multiple sports. On the league side, we're trying to do everything we can to accommodate that ability for those students or those schools that want to allow their athletes to attend, for them to be able to attend, play two sports at the same time within the same season. So that's how the league's trying to structure it. Again, with 16 programs, it's going to be difficult to accommodate all the multi-sport athletes to be able to go to different sports. Again, we're talking about 16 programs. There's only 5 days in a week. And we're even jumping into Saturday as another option. So anywhere along those lines, it would be difficult for an athlete to participate, for example, let's just say in girls basketball and track. That might be a problem because they're at the same time. So eventually, in some cases, it could turn into the student athlete having to choose one sport over the other. Obviously, if we can work it out to where they're able to go to both, then, ideally, again, pending our district decision as to how we wish to go about that, it'll be possible in some cases, but not all.
We've been under quarantine, self-quarantine since March, and months go by, and as adults, it's hard enough for us, but I can imagine for the kids, it's even harder. They're so used to being outside, being together, gathering, going out. It's the summertime. I read recently that the COVID youth cases have started to increase, that I think of all the increases here in Ventura County alone, 60% of them are under the age of 44, and 40% of those are under the age of 24, which means there could be a lot of the young kids. Have you heard anything locally of our students getting infected with COVID or what have you, and being hospitalized or being quarantined?
I've heard of students getting them, Dan, but not necessarily student athletes. And again, this is my unofficial opinion in that I haven't, nobody's reached out in terms of giving me specifics as to it pertains to some of our athletes, but it is out there, Dan. I think everybody's aware of it. It is targeting the younger population. And at the end of the day, we're the adults. Sometimes we got to protect ourselves from ourselves. We got to protect our student athletes. And whatever our district decides to do or we decide to do on how to proceed, it's going to definitely be taking into consideration all the safety protocols and procedures sent down to us from the CDC or our district or our county. And again, if you've seen some of those protocols that are expected, even just setting up for regular practices is going to be challenging in that there's pre-screenings that will be required. There's cleanups of equipment, material supplies midway through. There's boundaries as to how long they can practice, whether they're able to share a ball. So all these things are part of today's world in terms of, getting athletics up and going. So there will be some challenges again for our coaches, certainly for our student athletes. But again, we won't move forward in any capacity if obviously we feel that it's unsafe or we're not able to properly provide follow those safety guidelines. Again, student safety is always going to be a primary concern for us, and as is our coaches and our staff. So whatever time we decide to move forward, it'll be done in the manner of which we're directed to, which again is going to be a process.
Talking your policies and procedures, safety methods, and what have you. I know that CIF basically stands for California Interscholastic Federation, which encompasses the whole state of California. And I believe there are 10 different CIF sections in California. Southern section, northern section, central section,
San
central
Diego, yeah.
coastal section, San Diego section, LA City
City
section.
section.
There's even a San Francisco and an Oakland section of oddly, where Oakland has like, I think 20 schools in the section, and us in the southern section have over 600 schools. So
We are certainly.
it kind of reminds me of like Governor Newsom right now, where he has 58 counties that he governs, and he's keeping an eye on where the flare-ups are and closing them and shutting them down and doing different rules and regulations. I don't know if who has the power to basically stop a section or a league or a school from participating because of one COVID positivity, or two or three or four, what have you. Does it go to even like our governor or the school board, our individual school board, environmental health, county board of supervisors, the principals, you, the athletic director? Who has the power to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dan. In that you're right. We could start a season and somebody gets infected, resulting in that school having to shut down their entire athletic operations. And that could vary from school to school. It can vary from county to county. So, obviously for us, the direction we get is from our county or our district. And obviously they're in partnership, collaboration with the county and the state. So essentially all these bodies work together to hand down the information. But our authority is always going to be through our district that is receiving their information, obviously, from county and state officials. So.
Okay. There's so many unanswered questions right now, and like you say, we're still waiting for the governors to approve the whole schedule still too, and just to go forward. And we will not know anything until we get closer to the end of the year, and we still have a long ways to go till then. I think that's a couple of more. I mean, every question we come up with opens up a new can of worms, and it just opens, and that can of worms opens up another can of worms, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's just, like I say, it could be a nightmare for you. Appreciate your time, your vacation, your so-called scheduled vacation.
There is no vacation.
Your so-called scheduled vacation right now, because it's just a nightmare for you, I'm sure. Anything else you'd like to mention before we close off?
Yeah, Dan. Well, first I want to thank KDTV, Bob Allen, Dan Diaz. Thank you guys for even doing this. Sometimes a lot of it is behind the scenes. There's all this information that's going, and then it changes, and us getting the information out to our community, our stakeholders, it's important. And as athletic director, I use Twitter. I update a lot of our Twitter, our athletic page. We're also navigating through our athletic website, sphsathletics.org. So everybody out there watching, join SPHS2 on Twitter or our athletic website, sphsathletics.org, as a way for me to disseminate. But this is another platform for us to use. So thank you guys for doing this. You don't have to do this. And, Bob Allen and KDTV, they're talking about how to move forward with, games. Do we allow fans, spectators, or do we not? That discussion is kind of being out there as when games come around, how's it going to look? Obviously, we don't have that answer yet. But I'm happy to say that over the work that we've done with the KDTV over the last couple of years, Santa Paula's been live streaming games. Whether it's football, baseball, volleyball, basketballs. So in many ways, we are out in front of the curve in terms of being able, having the ability to do that, the resources to do that. So hopefully, again, it doesn't get to that point because part of sports is having our parents and our spectators and our community there. And I thank you guys for opportunities to communicate and highlight our student athletes at Santa Paula High School. So thank you to you guys. And the student athletes out there, if you're watching, hey guys, again, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So make sure you guys, to the best of your abilities or whatever you can do, you're at least working out to some capacity in a safe manner within your home or in your garage. It doesn't stop. We might not be able to meet, but we're certainly meeting via Zoom. And hopefully you're preparing yourselves. So thank you once again, guys, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dan Guzman. I'd like to thank the athletic director from Santa Paula High School, Mr. Dan Guzman, again, for joining us. I'd like to thank everybody else out there for joining us. Our next segment will probably be, I don't know, in another month or so or two, because nothing's going on until sports goes in. We might, and hopefully we can start doing some live broadcasts or even some individual broadcasts instead of having to do the Zoom broadcast. So everybody out there, thanks for joining us. Let's cross our fingers, stay safe, and keep the faith. Thanks for joining.
Take care. Thank you.